Hey guys, thanks for hanging out. I'm sorry that I started the show late. 888-659-3727 is a toll-free number. We are live from Los Angeles doing our thing here, as usual, every Tuesday night. If you're new to the broadcast, don't know who I am, why I'm here, you are listening to The Bald Show. This is The Bald Truth. Been doing this broadcast for like 17 years. And I was reminded of the length of time that I was doing this broadcast today. I was actually interviewed by a Swedish radio station this morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. And it was, I've had a lot of unique interviews before, but what was unique about this is, and I just want to put it out there that this person was very... she was a woman who actually did a documentary on hair transplantation, on actually Swedes going to Turkey to have surgical hair restoration, it's a pretty common thing. There's a lot of Americans who are traveling to Turkey and people from other parts of the world, and obviously Europe, who travel to Turkey for, there's really good prices when it comes to surgical hair restoration. And also there are a handful. At this time, there are only 2 doctors that I could recommend, but who are doing really, state-of-the-art surgical hair restoration. So this woman is a freelance journalist and also obviously a filmmaker who does some stuff on radio as well. And I guess during her research, she found the bald truth. She found the American Hair Loss Association. She kind of followed this broadcast, and she wanted to, to interview me for a radio segment on Swedish radio. Very cool, very interesting. And I guess, when you're getting questioned about what you do, especially from, a third party who kind of looked at things, in my view, from kind of a typical journalistic direction. She followed, these guys who decided to undergo surgical hair restoration and kind of their trials and tribulations. And obviously she must have gotten involved with the emotional aspects of why they decided to do this. But, when she was asking me questions, I definitely think she got what I did. But there's still that little bit of, that kind of question, like, why is it so important to men? Why is hair loss such a major issue? Why are you guys so adversely affected by something that appears to be very normal and frankly is normal? It's accepted by society that, most guys will end up losing hair. So why is it such an issue? And it doesn't matter what language, obviously, she speaks English and she spoke English very well, but it doesn't matter what culture I'm doing the interview for, what language I'm doing the interview in, what part of the world I'm being interviewed for, whether it's a newspaper or radio or whatever. There always seems to be it's a world societal view of hair loss and how, we really, as guys, shouldn't be as affected by it as we are. And when journalists or, just people in general find out how affected we really are, I think their first inclination is that, there's like a subset of really hypersensitive guys, a subset of guys who are very insecure about their appearance or allow this to make them very insecure. And again, I think she did a really good job, but, all of these interviews are always, relatively typical. And, she gave me we were on the phone for a good hour, so I don't know how much of the recorded segment is actually going to be on the air. And I think that I was able to get my points across, even though, some of the questions were certainly pointed. But I guess the reason I bring this up is I started talking about at the beginning of the show, like I always do, how long I've been on the air. And it's it's pretty amazing that we've been able to do this broadcast for like 17 years. Is it? How long is it? 1998. A long time. And every week it's something new. Every email that I get, every, contact that I get, it's just there's something that kind of strikes me as, wow, I never realized that, that a person can feel a certain way about something that I've been talking about for 17 years. I brought up a topic of, she was actually asking me about some of the emails that were received, and I've brought this up before with you guys, but I'm having all kinds of technical problems as usual. But, we received another email from the mother of a young guy who decided to go have a hair transplant, didn't do their research, and actually this woman paid for her son's hair transplant. Hair transplant didn't turn out too well, and this was done here in the States. So this woman is reaching out to me. She feels incredibly guilty that she didn't do her due diligence. She feels, that she kind of just trusted her son's word because her son said, listen, these are the people to go to. They're the best in the country. And, she wrote the check. And now she feels she is like kind of somewhat responsible for allowing her son to make this, what they consider to be a tragic mistake. Now, I haven't seen any pictures, and I think that, I always tell people, and if you're listening to the program right now, the woman who wrote me, I mean, especially with today's state-of-the-art surgical hair restoration, there is, a great possibility that your son could be repaired. But that's just one of the, thousands of emails, the type of stuff that we get, on a weekly basis. And it kind of doesn't matter how long we've been out there, how long I've been providing this information, how long the American Hair Loss Association has been out there. People are still in need of what we do because sadly they are not finding us first in many cases. They're going to the ads, they're going to the 800 numbers on the infomercials. First thing they do is to do a Google search, and they may not find us on the number 1 or number 2 spot, and they may end up going to one of the ads first. And that's where a lot of people are kind of making their mistakes. So as I'm being interviewed by this person, she's asking me these questions and how I've been able to, stay on the air for so long and, discussing the importance and the value of the program, even though we basically talk about the same thing every week. I try to explain to her that even though it's the same subject matter, it's the same topic, we're not doing the same thing every week. There's always somebody new that's tuning in that needs our help. There's always somebody new that has the same story with a slightly different twist. There's always somebody new out there who may not know that they're not alone, who or take the time to listen to this program, even tonight, and maybe the advice that we're able to give him, this one person, will be life-changing. They might be ready to have a hair transplant, and they're making the wrong decision. And they wouldn't have known that they're making the wrong decision if they didn't have the opportunity to tune in and listen to this broadcast. So, for all my regular listeners, you know what we do. But for the new guys out there, and for people like this woman who interviewed me today from Swedish radio, I think it's, this person in particular was, it took her a little while to kind of get exactly how we're able to do what we do for so long and the importance of our message. But I think as a hair loss sufferer myself, and you guys know it, until you're there, you never know how you're going to deal with it. If you're going to be able to cope, if you are going to, possibly do things like change your career path because of your hair loss. We talked about that a little bit as well. And she was frankly, she sounded mortified that someone would be so affected by their hair loss that they would change their career path. So anyway, I'm kind of going on a rant. Let me give out the phone number. It's 888-659-3727. I am here to take your calls. So let me make sure that our phones are actually working tonight. Okay, good. Somebody's actually on hold right now. 888-659-3727. Questions, concerns about your hair loss, feel free to call me. If you want to talk about the importance of, coming here every week or every other week and how it kind of has affected your life, I think it's important especially for new listeners to kind of understand that, A, they're not alone. And, maybe some of your old timers have taken away something from this broadcast that, perhaps, changed your life. And I really think that's what it's all about. When you, and I'm going to bring this up again because I have another interview actually at the end of the week. It's always kind of the same shit initially. And they always want to know, they kind of think we just talk about the nuts and bolts of hair loss on this show. Where to go, what not to do, all the typical stuff that you read about on blogs and in newspapers. And when you discuss the heavy emotional toll that hair loss can take on a person, the importance to provide this platform to those who really aren't allowed to talk about this, especially guys. Eventually they do get it. So give us a call here if you have any questions, concerns. 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Good evening, Spencer.
Hey, Joe, what's happening, man?
First of all, I won't get personal, but I want to say I'm sorry about your recent unfortunate endeavor. That's as far as I'll go.
Okay, well, you can say it. My dog died, and I appreciate that.
Can I say it?
Yeah, I posted it on Facebook. And yeah, it's definitely been extremely difficult. Normally, either my dog is right here when I'm doing the program or he's right outside the door. It was kind of shocking the way that it occurred. We knew that he was not in great shape, but we didn't think that he was going to die the way that he did so quickly. And so it's been pretty devastating. But, that's life. He's a 12-and-a-half-year-old German Shepherd, greatest guy in the world. And I just appreciate the time that we had with him.
Yes, unfortunately, Dave Artista called me today to inform me of their tragic news, and I was devastated to hear that. Well, I know how much you love your dog, Hunter.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad, it's nice that he contacted you. And I appreciate all the well wishes and the condolences that people sent me. And look, he died a good death. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, it was quick. It was in the house. He didn't have to be put down. It's kind of sad to watch as, your dog takes his last breath. But, again, it is what it is. And he was 12 and a half years old. And who knows, I think about it this way. He was starting to lose some mobility in his hind legs. And it would have been a lot worse if he actually was not able to walk or go to the bathroom normally and all that stuff and still kind of been, cognizant and healthy in every other way. So I think maybe it was a blessing.
Well, I'm not a veterinarian, but I would diagnose him as having severe arthritis.
He did have severe arthritis, but he probably died of something else. We don't have to necessarily get into it, but it was quick. It was one day he was like just not himself, and then the next day you could see he was slowing down. He was kind of like wobbly, and he just wasn't eating, and then next day he died.
Well, as Murphy Law goes, between the tragic loss of your father, Jack, God bless him, and now Hunter, it must be really tough for you, my friend. And my heart goes out to you.
Well, I appreciate that. And look, again, it is what it is. That's life. And that's why, I always tell all you guys, you guys have to live, the fullest lives you possibly can. You can't allow this to derail you the way that it does so many people, the way that hair loss derailed you, Joe. And it's just so important for the young guys to understand that. And it's something that I really kind of try to get out there during this interview. Now, again, if this reporter is listening, she may end up listening to this program because the interview is not going to be out for another month. She did a really good job. She really did. She took a lot of time with me. She asked a lot of the right questions. There was a slight language barrier, even though her English was incredible. Most Swedes, speak English very well, but there's still that barrier when it comes to anyone who is not dealing with hair loss. They still can't get it 100%. They try. They do their best, but it really takes a lot of explaining to kind of, open up the door and open up their eyes so they understand why we do what we do and how this program and everything that we've done through the Ball of Truth has been so successful because, of the support that we're able to give people. And, Joe, you're a big part of the show. So
I appreciate that.
Well, but I mean, your participation provides people with, a sense of, I guess a sense of belonging. You're kind of like, some people consider you like a whack packer. Some people consider, they look to you for advice as far as they at least want to get the information that you provide on your weekly updates. Some guys look at you as, well, you know what? At least I'm not as bad as Joe. But whatever it is, it benefits them.
Yes, but before I get to my opening, I just want to tell you young guys again, don't be like me. Don't throw your youth away. It's not worth it. You regret someday throwing your youth away for something as frivolous. And I don't mean it like that. I just mean it in reality as hair loss. Enjoy your lives, man. It's not worth it. Did I put that right, Spin?
My name is Joe from Staten Island. My name is. Excuse me. My name is.
Would you like to may reiterate it?
My name is. My name is. My name is.
Have you heard it? Excuse me.
My name is. My name is. My name is.
Joe from Staten Island.
Joe, you put that perfectly. And yes, I mean, the guy in the chat room who says Joe's depressing. Joe is depressing, but that's part of his charm. That's part of that's part of why he's on the program. Joe, you are a guy who's lived his life at one end of the hair loss spectrum. Someone who just wasn't equipped to get past it, and you don't mind us using you as an example of really how not to live your life as far as, when it comes to hair loss.
But I've gotten better lately, Spencer.
And you know what? You've gotten a lot better, and it's been pretty amazing. I don't know if it's because of your near-death experience. I don't know if it has to do with just, somehow we've been able to get through to you. Maybe Dave Artista has something a little bit to do with it because he's.
Well, yes. My recent calls, I spoke to Dave Artista today for an hour and a half. I mean, he's really helped me out. He's my age, and he's really helped me to come to realization how minor this is compared to other things in life.
Well, and that's the truth. That's the truth. And
that's the bald truth.
That is the bald truth. And that's the message. And again, getting back to this interview, that was a message that I wanted to get out there. This woman asked me, she says, well, don't you think by doing a program like this for so long, you're kind of putting like a negative focus on hair loss? And I was like, we're doing just the opposite. What we're doing is we're allowing people to talk about an issue that society doesn't allow us to talk about. So instead of holding it in, instead of suffering in silence, we get to kind of have this, incredible on-air and online support group where guys can talk about this issue and be free about it. And that's cathartic. That is therapeutic. And I kind of explained to her how many guys, even if you listen to last week's show, who have called just to thank us for what we do, who have said that, it's been life-changing just to be able to talk about this and to learn how to make the right decisions. So I think she got it. We're going to see how it goes. I mean, it's on a pretty big, national level there in Sweden. It's going to be a pretty big show. So we'll see how the Swedes react to it, and we'll see if she actually gives it the credible take that it really should have. You just never know when you're doing these interviews.
Well, I understand that. Can I go proceed with what I have to say, or you want to finish?
I did finish. I'd like you to proceed, please.
Okay, you know the call to the line, but I just have a brief comment, then I have a brief piece of news. Will you give me 5 minutes?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I want to comment on, like, the United States is now, the government of the United States has ordered the Food and Drug Administration to fast-track a vaccine for Ebola, which means it could be in the market in 4 to 5 months.
Which would be incredible.
Okay, I understand that. But on the other hand, male pattern baldness, okay, which doesn't really directly kill people, but its ancillary effects does kill people. It is responsible for heart disease, prostate cancer, depression, and untold suicide.
How is it responsible for heart disease and prostate cancer? I think that you're putting out, some of you are perpetuating some of the propaganda and the potentially faulty studies that have been kind of put out there through the media.
No studies have shown this, because I personally have heart disease, and I believe it's due to my male pattern.
Yeah, there have been some isolated studies that have linked male pattern baldness to heart disease. A recent study linked male pattern baldness to a more aggressive form of prostate cancer. However, this last study, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, was really more of a survey than a study. And they were actually asking patients to try to remember when they began to lose their hair. And these were older patients, guys in their 60s and 70s who already had prostate cancer. And they were asking them when they started to lose their hair. So they had to kind of remember and just fill out this survey. So based on this survey, they concluded that there was a larger percentage of guys with aggressive hair loss who had, or younger male, who started dealing with hair loss at a younger age, who were already dealing with prostate cancer. They seemed to have a more aggressive form of prostate cancer. There was really no causal data or cause and effect. It was based on just a questionnaire. So to perpetuate that study, in my view, that's irresponsible. Now, it's not your fault, but that's what the media does. As far as the heart studies, those are questionable as well. So we really don't know if that data is clear. So
right.
I do certainly agree with you as far as the emotional aspects of hair loss and how it affects our lives and how it affects every aspect of our lives and how it causes depression and it can cause, like I was talking about earlier, people to change their career paths and to, put their lives on hold. And some people have committed suicide because of hair loss or bad cosmetic surgery or hair transplantation because of their hair loss. That's very real.
And we know of several.
But I would hate for
parents of the show.
I would hate for the listeners of this program for you to reinforce information that is not necessarily valid. Okay.
I could agree with you on that point.
Okay.
Well, let me make this point. Then I get to the news. I do aggressively, we have a great president in office now, President Barack Obama. I do employ him to order the Food and Drug Administration to aggressively fast-track order the FDA to fast-track all the male pattern baldness drugs in the pipeline, such as allergens, Valmetriptan, Cosmo Pharmaceuticals, Freebie 301. Let me finish a second. Replacel and Histogen. The list goes on and on. President Obama will be the president who changes the demographic society of America. Please comment on that, Spencer.
Well, A, it's not going to happen. B, at this stage, this president and his administration can't even contain something that could have been contained as something as dangerous as Ebola in this country, which is insane to me. It's absolutely insane to me the way this whole thing is being handled. And I got to tell you, I do not believe a goddamn thing that you are reading on the news or what the government is telling you about this virus. So if you guys out there do not think that this thing can spread, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if you guys out there do not think that this is more of an emergency than the government and the CDC is letting us to believe, then you guys are extremely naive.
Well, Spencer, let me elaborate on that a little bit before I get to the news. So please give me an extra 5 minutes.
Go ahead.
I agree with. I'm sorry. What?
I said go ahead.
I agree with you 100%. I'm not a physician, as you know, but I am a student of politics and a student of current events. In my expert opinion, I believe that the government is lying to us. This Ebola threat is 100 times worse than we know. But if the government told the truth, you'd cause mass hysteria within the geographical boundaries of the United States of America and the world.
Well, that's the thing. They want to control the mass hysteria. They want to control, the flow of information because they're afraid of possible mass hysteria. And I certainly understand that. But the truth is, I mean, I believe that Ebola can be used as, by well, I don't want to get into ISIS and all that stuff, but I believe that because of how lax our borders are, that there is a very strong possibility that we are going to see more and more cases popping up. And frankly, it could be a real pandemic, and then it could eventually be an epidemic. And insanity is going to ensue if something like that happens. So I don't understand. I don't understand how this is not being controlled. How they are not, closing off these borders. How they are allowing flights in from West Africa. Just stop it. Just put a hold on things. Forget about being politically correct. We're talking about the lives of our citizens.
Can you imagine what would happen to the American public with the outbreak of Ebola and a combination of an ISIS attack, which is in my opinion as a law enforcement officer, I believe will happen?
Well, imagine these guys going and purposely getting infected with this, these suicide guys, who would normally been suicide bombers, but purposely infecting themselves with Ebola, and then getting, crossing the border, flying in with their visas and their, and their European passports or their American passports, and just, waltzing into this country. And that's it. They're willing to die, so they're willing to infect as many people as possible. You don't think that's a real scenario? That's a real possibility?
It is so real. As you know, I do Rush Limbaugh on the Sean Hannity show on occasion. I may be plagiarizing your statement without using your name, because you have made a fantastic political point, and I give you an A+ for that point. You're definitely a student of politics. You're a brilliant man for making that statement.
I don't know if I'm a brilliant man. It just seems to make common sense to me.
I've never heard that before on talk radio. I should definitely call Rush tomorrow. I'll be in hold for 3 hours, but I have to call Rush, and I think notify him of this. Not mentioning your name, of course, but I'll be known as blank from blank. I could get my pseudonym on the Rush Limbaugh show, obviously, for the millions of people listening now.
Look, it just seems like common sense. Yeah, it just seems like common sense. I mean, it could be their form of chemical, quote unquote warfare.
Let me make one final point about Ebola before I get quickly the news. What people are doing now, as you know, they're being detected for fevers. You've heard of this, right?
Yes.
But people are now ingesting quantities of Advil, if they have Ebola, to disguise any evidence of fever.
Right.
And they're fooling. So that is I don't want any FCC investigations. What they're doing now is a smoke screen, and it's BS. And I'm telling you this as law enforcement.
Well, look, and then this is also my opinion. What's going to happen is we are embarking on cold and flu season.
Right.
I've been dealing with a little bronchitis myself. So, I mean,
sorry to hear that.
The HMOs, the hospitals, the emergency rooms, the urgent care clinics, they are going to be filled with people in a panic. And the reason people are going to be panicking is because the government has absolutely no control over this. And they are unwilling to do what it takes to protect its citizens. So you're going to see hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are going to be dealing with the common cold this season or the flu in effing panic. And, the CDC even said that our hospitals, from what I understand, in this country are not prepared for an Ebola epidemic. And you saw what happened to that nurse in Texas. I mean, she was wearing basically a hazmat suit, and she somehow contracted the virus. So what does that mean? Does that mean that it's airborne? That it's like you can catch it like a cold or a flu? Which, frankly, you can catch the flu or the common cold if someone sneezes 6 feet away from you. So if that's the case, and you know what, according to our as you would state, our great president, and according to other people in his administration and the CDC, that's not a possibility. It's like being struck by lightning that you're going to get Ebola. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's true.
Spencer, how do we know there are not thousands of cases right now that I'm even telling us about?
Exactly. How do we know that some guy's waking up with a cold who's afraid to not go to work because he's going to lose his job, is not infecting people as we speak tonight in some restaurant?
Do you know studies have shown that Ebola will live in a man's sperm for 90 days? Are you aware of that?
Yes. So basically, yeah. I mean, you can basically shoot Ebola. You can transmit Ebola through your semen up to 90 days. Think about that. You can somehow have been cured. Your body could have fought the disease, the virus, but it still stays in your sperm. That's how powerful it is.
Well, could that be a byproduct of masturbation? I thought I'd get a little joke.
But listen, I can tell you this, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not here to be I know you are. I'm not here to be an alarmist, but I think that people have to take this seriously. And I have to tell you that, I'm not going to be traveling to Europe. I'm probably not going to travel out of the country for a while. And frankly, I'm not that thrilled about traveling through international airports, whether it be LAX or JFK at this point. I do have to travel, and I will arrange to travel out of smaller airports, especially if I'm doing something locally, whether I'm going up to San Francisco or whatever, or I may decide to drive. And I know that sounds a little paranoid, but I mean, how do you think this virus is going to be transmitted for the most part? It's going to be transmitted during air travel. I mean, this is some serious shit, and I cannot believe where our government stands on this, and that's all I have to say on that. So if you think that the government's going to get involved in trying to cure hair loss, you got another thing coming, dude.
Well, let me just, while you're right, Spencer, let me just say this in closing before just give me one more minute to get to the news, that I believe there are thousands of cases right now they're not talking about. This is much more widespread. They're holding back until the elections on November 4th for political reasons.
Well, exactly. I mean, this is a crucial election. And, yeah, I mean, I definitely believe that there's a possibility that they are holding back information for both political reasons and obviously not to cause some sort of a mass panic. So, I mean, look, the truth is, it didn't have to get to this country. We had the ability to keep it out. And, I mean, our president and his administration knew of this possibility. They were warned of this possibility. Yet they chose to basically do nothing. Now, France and in the UK and other parts of Europe, they're not allowing flights in from Africa or West Africa, from what I understand.
That's true. Well, our great President Barack Obama was also warned on ISIS, and you see the results of that.
That's exactly right. He called in the JV team. So listen,
right.
We live in a very, very scary world. I don't want to get into a political discussion because I can go on all day. And, maybe one day we'll do a show like that. Maybe one day through GFQ. The thing is, once you get involved in politics, you start to kind of polarize your audience. And I'm not, I never thought that was a great idea. But you're worried about hair loss. People are worried about hair loss. I'm worried about hair loss. I made my career because of my concern over hair loss. But let me tell you, what is going to happen in this country in the next few months is the possibility of what can happen on several levels, including, significant terrorist attacks and what's happening with Ebola. It's frightening to a level that it's difficult to articulate.
Well, it's one of the Bible, Spencer. Ebola could be the final plague.
Oh, Jesus. Listen, I'm just going to be held up. I'm going to be held up in my house with my shotguns and my other weapons and my, this sounds nuts, but I have supplies and, I'll do what I have to do.
Will you still be doing the show?
Yeah, we'll do it. Of course. I'll be able to do the show if I do it from my house.
All right. Just give you one more bit of news. I know you have other calls. Then I'll just get off the phone and just hang up.
No, it's okay. Whatever you want to do, Joe.
I'll just hang up. It's very, very brief news. Okay, as you know, the stem cell meeting in Mesa, California was held this week.
Right.
Okay, Ripple made its presentation. Bottom line is they're in phase 2 studies in Japan. But the great part about this is Japan's parliament has recently passed legislation which makes approval process a lot less lenient than the FDA. So actually, if Repicel shows positive results on phase 2, they can market it in Japan.
And that's exciting.
Which you may say you have to go to Japan, but in my expert opinion, I believe they'll start opening up shops in Bahamas, Cayman Islands.
That's very true, but I got to tell you this. I am not traveling anywhere out of the country to get it done. You're not going to see me. You're not going to see me leave the U.S. for a good year until we know that this shit is under control.
Oh, really?
And I have to tell you that I don't think that people realize how this is going to affect the global economy. I have been contacted by guys European hair transplant doctors who are concerned now because they were getting patients who were traveling from different parts of Europe and different parts of the world. And they're noticing a slowdown in, on people who are willing to travel to have surgical hair restoration, at least outside of their country, especially U.S. citizens traveling to different parts of the world. So,
Spencer, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I'm not trying to contradict you because, I think you're the greatest. But the sad part is, as a terrorist already here, so is Ebola already here.
Yes.
That's the irony.
No. I don't feel like you're contradicting me, but to me, it's there's for me on a personal note, there's no need for me to put myself at even greater risk. It's risky enough just going to the supermarket and picking up produce, or just going to a restaurant, or just not knowing, especially when you don't really have a firm understanding of how the disease is transmitted.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I watch Fox News, and Bill O'Reilly has said that the chairman of the CDC is lying, point blank.
Well, listen, I watch a lot of different channels. I watch Fox News. I'll believe it or not, I'll even watch CNBC. I kind of want to get both sides of the coin, both sides of the story. I definitely, when it comes to this and some of the other stuff that's happening, as far as this current administration, I'm leaning more towards some of the stuff that's being described on Fox News and discussed on Fox News. I try to be really, truly fair and balanced when I get my news. But
unfortunately...
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done.
Fox News, has a political leanings against the great President Obama, and you can lean more into what I'm saying. You're a smart guy, Spencer.
Well, I believe that you're being a little facetious when you say that, but that's just my
No,
opinion.
I know millions of people listen to this. I nearly knocks on my door.
Yeah.
I'll have no comment. How's that sound?
Yeah. Listen, I don't want to get into politics, but I know exactly what I know.
You'll be investigating.
Well, I know exactly what you're saying, and listen, this is all I want. I would like the citizens of the United States of America to be in a position where they are truly protected, and they are as safe as they can possibly be. I know it's impossible to do a perfect job when it comes to dealing with terrorism. And even dealing with, controlling a disease like Ebola. But, I mean, they had the opportunity to really control it to where it probably wouldn't have gotten to this country. And they didn't take that opportunity. Now, it's very possible that no matter what, the government tried to do, that it could have, entered our shores. But there really was no effort to protect, American citizens, in my view, that I'm aware of, or at least that's being reported. You really don't know the truth because we get our information from the media.
Well, let me say this final thing about Ebola. The sad thing is, Dr. Nancy Steinerman, as you know, chief NBC medical correspondent, I don't know if you heard about this, violated the quarantine.
Yes, I did.
That's very shocking.
Yes. It is shocking. She apologized. She apologized publicly, which is, I mean, the whole thing is just frightening. And frankly, it was done out of arrogance.
And she was the person who 5 years ago predicted a follicle would cure meltdown baldness. I don't know if you remember that on an NBC show.
That I don't remember.
Yes, I do. That's a factual statement.
Well,
she stated that follicle would cure meltdown baldness within 5 years. Obviously, she's wrong on that. She's wrong on Ebola. So, Nancy, guess what? I think you ought to be fired.
Well, I personally agree. And, I mean, she was actually seen making a food run when she was supposed to be under quarantine at a local restaurant in New Jersey. So, I mean,
yes,
I mean, imagine that. Imagine, I mean, and this is, this is a physician. So is she that arrogant to believe, well, you know what, I think this is overblown. I need some pizza or whatever she got. And I'm going to go out and get something.
You know, the sad thing is some people are so brilliant that they're so stupid. Am I correct in that analysis, Brian?
Well, I think I know what you're trying to say, and I understand that. I mean, they're so well educated that they believe, that they believe the scientific hype. They believe what their mentors or their peers are saying, and they're not willing to kind of look at things with an open mind with, the possibility that, hey, and there are some doctors out there that are coming out very strong against it, saying, listen, they don't want to start a panic either, but you guys got to take this seriously. And then all the guys involved in media, all the doctors connected to, whether it's Fox News or CBS or whatever it is, they all seem to have this kind of like, it's almost it's this bizarre agenda. I don't know if it's because they're concerned about losing sponsors. I don't know, because if they start some sort of a panic, through their network, the network's not going to be happy. Sponsors may not be happy. Who knows? There's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Well, definitely so. I'm just predicting. I hope your engineers are parted out that 2015 will be a tragic year in America. It'll be a shocking year for what's coming down the pike. And we may not be so concerned about hair loss. A lot of people could be dying.
Well, let's just hope that's not true. Let's hope that doesn't happen. And frankly, let's hope that hair loss is our biggest problem.
Right. I know you're the caller, Spencer. I just want to say again, I'm sorry about your tragic loss. And I want to say, Dave Artiste, I'm glad the person in your family, I can't mention who, he asked you not to say it on the air, is doing better. He's a good friend. And I want to say shout out to Bull, Jerry, and Johnny from Ohio.
All right, man.
Spencer, thank you so much for the time. I'll just hang up so you get the other calls. Okay,
all right, Joe,
Spencer.
listen, man. Thank you. Take care. And I'm going to take a quick break, so I'll talk to you soon.
And please tell your lovely wife how sorry I am about her beautiful dog.
I will. I appreciate it. All right, my computer sounds like it's going to explode, so I got to close it. It's so hot in here.
Gesundheit, my friend.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later, man.
God bless you, man.
Take it easy. It's like an Italian Jew. 888-659-3727. This is the hair loss show. I know that we were talking a little bit about Ebola, and I got to tell you the truth. And again, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I am not a guy that is like overly panicky. But I truly believe that, you guys out there who are listening to this broadcast, take it from me. This is more serious than the media is letting on to. I can't even speak. And I personally don't trust a goddamn thing that we're being told by the government. And that's just my opinion. And maybe I am being a little paranoid. But I think, take as much precaution as you possibly can. Go out there, wash your hands a lot. If someone's coughing, whatever it is, don't be ashamed to walk away. Don't worry about being politically correct. If you don't want to sit next to somebody on an airplane or on a subway or whatever it is, get the fuck up and don't worry about offending somebody. You take care of yourselves. 888-659-3727. So listen, we're going to get back to hair loss after I take this break. So if you have any questions or concerns about your hair loss, feel free to call. Last week we were talking a little bit about success and how, there's a lot of guys out there who kind of let their hair loss, let the emotional toll that hair loss takes interfere with becoming successful in life. I kind of have an interesting story about a couple of guys that I went to see who are actually in the broadcasting business who, I kind of believe they're both sufferers, by the way, who are having success on Propecia, but they're kind of getting in their own way as far as becoming successful, in my view. And, I figured we'd talk more about that when I get back. 888-659-3727. I'm Spencer Kobren. You're listening to and watching The Bald Truth. Stay with us.
The man who's helping to make hair loss history.
They wish to cure us, but I say we are the cure.
It's Spencer David Kobren.
Hey guys, welcome back. 888-659-3727. Now, what happened, man? I had a full board of calls, phone. I can't speak. And everyone dropped. So call me back, 888-659-3727. Again, guys, this is a call-in show. If I don't receive phone calls, I'm doing this for you. I'm live on the air for you to give you guys an opportunity to ask me questions about anything and everything hair loss. I happen to be in a position where I am, I guess, fortunate enough and maybe, unfortunate enough to be privy to a lot of information about the hair loss industry that a lot of you guys really, probably don't know. And if you're considering doing anything about your hair loss, if you're considering surgical hair restoration especially, it is extremely dangerous out there. So you need to do your due diligence. If you happen to be scheduled to have surgery tomorrow and you're not scheduled with a IAHS recommended doctor, for instance, now's a good time to give us a call and ask about any questions you may have about surgery and even ask about your doctor. And I've said this before, I'm not here to make people, I don't want people to lose money. I don't want their practices to go under. But there's a lot of damage being done every single day in this country. And a lot of you guys have spent the time and saved your money and taken your, days off of work and planned your lives around what you think is going to be this incredibly life-changing and life-altering procedure in a positive way. And you have no idea that you possibly booked with a butcher or with a guy that has a group of really, an incompetent staff. And 6 months from now, your life can be altered for sure. It can be changed. There's no doubt. But there's a good chance it's not going to be in a positive way if you haven't done your due diligence, if you don't know, what you're getting into. Do you know how many times I've been contacted by patients who have had surgery, even guys who have gone to good clinics who had no effing clue that the doctor kind of does his thing, walks out of the room, and leaves the rest of the procedure in the hands of technicians, some of whom are like, 21 years old or younger. These guys were never told that the outcome of their procedure, of their cosmetic surgery, is dependent on, in some cases, could be dependent on a relatively unskilled staff of young kids. Now, the thing about IHRS accepted physicians is that, their staff really has to be well-trained. And we obviously like them to be full-time and to be working with the particular physician they've been working with or other IHRS members for, a significant period of time. But I have to tell you, it is no secret, and I've said this on the air, I have known receptionists, girls who work the front desk, girls who are answering the phone for years in a particular practice. And then one day, find out that she's in surgery, learning how to perform surgery, or part of the surgery, I should say, the technician's part of the surgery, whether it's, dissecting follicular units under a microscope or implanting grafts. But learning on a paying patient, someone who has figured out a way to finance their cosmetic surgery or figured out a way, to take the plunge, to move forward, thinking they're just doing something to better their lives. And the day before, the girl that was operating on this person was answering phones and taking cigarette breaks. This is the very real world of this end of cosmetic surgery. And I have to tell you, and you guys may be surprised, but the mainstream world of cosmetic surgery is no better, and in many cases, it's worse. So that's why what we do here is so important. Back to what I wanted to talk about before the break. Last week we were talking a lot about, success and the value of success and what it means to be successful to you. As hair loss sufferers, sadly, many of us kind of allow, or many hair loss sufferers kind of allow success to elude them, based on how they feel about, the way they look, the way they appear in society, the way that society reacts to them because of their hair loss, because of their, the depression that hair loss has caused them. And this isn't atypical. Joe from Staten Island is a more common story than a lot of people think. All you have to do is go to my message forum and read what some guys are writing about how a hair loss is affecting their lives. And how a lot of these guys have even become, kind of like semi-recluses. They go to work, if they work even, and they kind of live their life. And they come back and they jump right on the message forum and start complaining about how women aren't paying attention to them and how somehow success is, their friends are becoming successful and they're not, and the success is eluding them because, they blame their hair loss. And guys, hold on, I'll take your calls in a second. 888-659-3727. But, I was asked to go to a friend's studio. Now, these are guys who come from, for some reason that side shot is so discolored on the internet. I'm going to go back to the other camera. These are guys that come from, mainstream conventional radio, terrestrial radio, guys who have had tremendous success on, nationally syndicated radio. And now they are doing their broadcasts online. Things have changed since they've gone online. And, these two particular guys who both have had success with finasteride, and one guy used to work for me many, many years ago, and the other guy is a producer of a huge radio show. And now they're doing their own program as well, connected to this other radio show. Make a long story short, they kind of asked me to come out. They want to learn more about what we do here at the Ball Truth, and also, through my syndicator, GFQ, and how they do things. And I'm an open book. I'm more than happy to explain things, kind of give them an idea of what they can accomplish, how they can, and the big question in radio, especially when guys from radio are getting into internet broadcasting, the big question is, how do we monetize it? Everyone is trying to put shit behind paywalls and make people pay for programming, or they're trying to just run conventional ads within the context or within the, within the show itself, banner ads, the typical shit that you see online. So what I do is very unique, and it's very difficult to explain to guys who kind of everything is kind of cubbyholed and fits into this old school way of producing and monetizing a product. To make a long story short, I spent some time with these guys, watched their broadcast. They're incredibly talented, and they have so much to offer. I'm telling you, you guys and so many guys would love to see these guys on camera and to listen to their broadcast. But right now, they are basically in obscurity. And in my view, it's because I don't know if they have a fear of success, or they don't really think it's possible to become successful. And maybe because they think it's not possible to become successful as they like to be, they're unwilling to try to pick up the phone to make that call. The reason I'm bringing this up is, I spent a lot of time with these guys, kind of, I was up late on that night, on Wednesday night, because my dog was ill. And, I was sending some emails, telling them what they need to do, stuff like that. Did not get a response back. And when I was talking to them, I kind of sensed that they were just looking at me like deers in the headlight. They had no real clue what I was talking about as far as how I'm able to do what I do for so many years and have the success that I've had. And I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, as hair loss sufferers, a lot of us blame our hair loss for our lack of success. A lot of us put the blame on the fact that we may not be happy with, we're unhappy with our appearance, we're depressed. It's difficult for us to pull that trigger. It's difficult for us to move in a certain direction because we feel that we are not who we were supposed to be. But unless you give it a shot, you're never going to be anything. These two guys who have incredible talent, who I know, I'm talking money. These guys can make a lot of money, and they can have a lot of fun. It's like they're paralyzed. They won't make a move, and it's in my view, it's purely out of fear, possibly some ignorance, but pure fear of the unknown. And they think everything fits in a particular type of a box. And I think there's a lot of hair loss sufferers who believe that they're looked at in a certain way, and they can never, there are actors who have been on the program who really believe that they wouldn't be able to be the actors that they really wanted to be because of their hair loss. And they, didn't go for certain roles and didn't, and maybe that's true to some degree. But you never know until you go for it. So anyway, that was just an example of what I was talking about last week, about how people kind of get in their own way. I basically offered these guys an opportunity to learn. And they will not make money right away. They will not get the instant success that they want. But, sometimes you can give people the the keys to the kingdom. Give them everything they need, but they can never unlock that door. For me, that's difficult for me to understand. But I don't want you to be like that, guys. And that's sadly what I see a lot of on the message forum. I see a lot of guys who are very unhappy with their lives, and they feel like they're stuck because of their hair loss. And the truth is they are not. I was a guy who, just like you, very insecure about my hair loss, affected every aspect of my life, made me feel less than, made me feel like I was kind of losing my mojo, made me feel less attractive, made me feel more self-conscious. This is so loud, this machine. Made me feel like, people were looking at me differently, that there would be no way that I could become the success that I always wanted to be. Because my looks were changing, I felt so dramatically. I felt that they were really, I was just becoming this different person. I have to tell you that it made me a different person. I kind of became a little bit more introverted for a short period of my life. It was like maybe a year that I allowed this to affect me the way in which it did. I thank alcohol for helping me get out of that, which is probably not the right thing to say. But I've told you guys this before. At a young age, I kind of got into the bar scene, and drinking a little bit kind of was the social lubricant that I needed to help me forget about the issues that I was dealing with. And I kind of just went out there and just went for it. I kind of didn't allow anything to stop me from meeting women. There were times in my younger years when I was first going through the throes of hair loss where I was kind of starting to spray my hair a little bit more than I used to, than is normal for a 21-year-old, and kind of moving the hair around to cover what I believe was thinning areas, and it was becoming more noticeable to people. And I got a couple of girls in bars or wherever I was, kind of mention like I needed a haircut, or like if a girl would touch my hair and it was like there was a lot of hairspray in it, and they would say something. And I just said to myself, you know what? I just have to effing push through that. A lot of guys out there let that stuff destroy them. And every time I heard a comment like that, while it hurt, it basically put fire under my ass. Now, a lot of you guys out there think that's impossible. It's so hard to do. How am I going to get past this? You're a unique type of person, Spencer. I'm not that unique. I have a lot of issues. Talk about my issues for many, many years. I'm a guy with a learning disability, with a movement disorder, with all kinds of, issues that a lot of people, it may have stopped people in life. Not too many twitchy guys like to be on camera. But I said, fuck it. What's the difference? Have people mentioned it over the years every once in a while? I had a guy on my own message forum who was like basically, goofing on me. So, talking about Tourette's and stuff. And I basically have a very mild form. But what does it really matter in the end? We're all going to be in a box. It doesn't make a difference. It makes no difference at all. But if I chose to allow, society and, my fears and everything to kind of stop me from doing what I wanted to do, I'd be out there working some shit job, working for somebody. Look, like these guys that I'm talking about, incredibly talented guys, really good at what they do. But they're worried about where their next, paycheck is coming from, because they're afraid to pull that trigger. I said something to these guys. I said, and this is about their boss, that, their boss has forgotten more about broadcasting than I will ever know. But I've been in the business of broadcasting, independent broadcasting, for a very, very long time. I've been in business myself since the age of 24. Every paycheck that I get is based on my performance, my insurance, my health insurance, life insurance, everything. My ability to live my life the way that I live it is based on my performance, and it's done on my terms. I used to look at guys who were in radio, and this may sound obnoxious, and I hope that it doesn't, because it's just the reality of it. These guys would kind of look at what I do and think, oh, this guy does some weekend show about hair loss. I would look at them like they were like the hired help. These were the guys who were the suckers. These were the guys, in my view, who were like, they never knew when they were going to have a job. If their station changed formats, if they, they didn't get ratings that they thought they were supposed to get that, for a quarter, they were always in jeopardy of losing their position in life. And I never wanted that. So I know I'm kind of going on a tear here, but, I think the bottom line is it's all about, just figuring it out for yourself. And hair loss, sadly, could really fuck things up for people, really put you in a position where you can't, you may not be able to figure it out. It derails a lot of people's lives. You just can't let it. You have to figure out a way to cope. It's whether shaving your head, getting a hairpiece, getting a hair transplant, getting on medication, you know. Yeah, I always tell people acceptance is really the best way to go about it. If you can just shave your head and move on, then move on. Don't watch this show. Don't listen to this broadcast. Don't go to my websites. Don't bring any extra traffic to the website that's unneeded. I don't want you guys, the guys that are spending so much time on the internet, on Bald Truth Talk. It's terrific. It's great. Great for traffic. It's great for my business. Not so great for you. Probably shouldn't be spending so much time on there, guys. And I'm very honest about this, and I'm passionate about it. There's a lot of poisonous bullshit that you read on all message forums. We actually try to moderate our forum. You know, you're not going to see our moderators on Bald Truth Talk trying to control the flow of information. We don't allow our moderators to really interact publicly with anybody. There's no private messaging either. You know, we try to keep it we try to keep the poison out of it. But it still seeps in there because of people's depression and because people they're so unhappy in their own skin. You know, and misery, what is that phrase? I can't think. Anyway, people who are unhappy seek others who are unhappy. That's just the way that it is. I think that the forums should be used and in some cases people use them correctly. But for a lot of guys, they're just kind of a place to go and to commiserate and to bitch and to be sad. And that's negative bullshit, man. You don't need that in your life. So while I appreciate all the traffic, and you know, the truth is it doesn't matter what I say, the miserable guys are still going to come on the forum and try to find some sort of sense of something. They're not going to get an answer to their hair loss problems today, but they need to be on there. So no matter what I say, I'm probably not going to stop a lot of people from doing it. But if I could stop a few people from spending every waking minute, free moment they have on a hair loss message forum, whether it be mine or somebody else's, I've done my job. Listen, guys, I'm going to sign off. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to tune in. Obviously, I want to thank Joe from Staten Island for calling in as usual. We got a lot of interesting live events coming up. Some interesting live hair transplants, some other live events that I will be able to have announced on the message forum, and also I'll announce personally, or someone will announce it on thebaldtruth.com. And November is going to be an extremely busy month for the Bald Truth as well. So I'm excited about that. I think we're going to be live next week. I'll kind of make a decision sometime towards the middle of the week. But if I am, it'll be announced on the Bald Truth, on Bald Truth Talk, and I guess I should probably tweet it out, which I did not do this week. But I want to thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope that, you know, maybe I was able to get through to one or two of you guys about the importance of just kind of living your life, man. There is life after hair loss, and I know you look at me, and I'm 49 years old, and you know, you see that, okay, I've had all this success, or whatever, you know, whatever you guys consider success, and I still have been able to save a lot of hair, even though I paint my bald spot, which, incidentally, this Swedish woman asked me about, this journalist. And I'm not going to try to mimic her accent, but it was very kind of, it was cute and funny the way she asked me about, you know, do I really paint my bald spot, and what does that mean? I had to explain that. When you tell a woman about this, it's like they're mortified. And I have to explain to them, like, hey, you know what? I mean, let's put things into perspective. You girls go out there basically wearing an entire coat of paint on your face. You do not look remotely like you look in the morning. So not only do you know, wear makeup on your skin and around your eyes, you wear stuff on your lips, you dye your hair, you're probably wearing some sort of a bra to, you know, either push up your breasts or to separate, or to whatever you girls need to do. It's very possible you're wearing some sort of special underwear to keep your butt in. You're wearing high heels. Good chance you're wearing, some sort of paint on your nails or fake nails. There's a good chance that you have a fake tan, a spray-on tan, especially if you're here in Southern California. Brian Monroe just texted me, and hair extensions. It's the way that it is. It's the way that there's not a woman past the age of 13, and maybe there's a few left, who does not leave their home for the day without wearing basically a disguise. They are not who they really are, what they really look like. Most women, on average, I think they start to dye their hair on average at around the age of 15. So they're not going out into the world with their real hair color. That's step number one. Mascara makes a big difference. If you are used to seeing a woman with mascara, when you see most women without it, without eyeliner or mascara, totally different. That completely makes them, provides that femininity, that pop of color, and makes them look more vibrant and sexier. You remove that, it's just a face for most women. So when I get that response about painting my head, which basically no one can see unless you're like directly over me and going through my hair with a comb, I always bring up that comparison. And you know what? Especially when it's a woman on the other side of on the other end of the line, they don't, they're kind of like, okay, yeah, I get it. But I wonder if they sit back and they really think about it. Because it's amazing to me. All we have is our hair. I can grow a beard. I can shave it off. I could, comb my hair over and spray it. But this is it. I don't look that much different in the morning. I look a little more messed up, maybe a little bit puffier around the eyes, and my hair's messed up because of all the hairspray. It kind of sticks up. But that's the only difference. Someone would be able to recognize me and just say, he looks like he just woke up. But I know women, and thank God my woman is not like this, but I know women who you would not recognize and who would not allow you to see them without their makeup on. And I've known women who were like in their early 20s when this started to happen to them, where it's like they wouldn't even come out of the bathroom until their eyes were done. I could not see them without some degree of enhancement. I'm really going on a tear here. I'm enjoying this. Some degree of enhancement. So, and that's why I find it so interesting when people ask me, especially when I'm interviewed by women. And again, I want to make this clear. This chick was good. She was very fair. She was really interested. I think that the radio interview is going to be great. I'm really glad that Swedes are going to have an opportunity, even though I know we have some Swedish fans, but a greater opportunity to learn about the Bald Truth and the American Hair Loss Association, about what we do. But especially when I speak to women and the way, a lot of these women, she was not one of them, just to be clear, but they're so condescending when they talk about hair loss. They're so condescending when they talk about how we feel about our hair loss. It's fucking amazing to me. If you were to take, like the housewife shows, if you were to take these housewives of Beverly Hills or of Orange County or of Atlanta and just strip them down completely, take out their silicone orbs and their Restylane and their take away their Botox and their makeup and their fake tans, strip them of their hair extensions, and just put them in a pair of jeans and a tank top. Take away their blow dryer. Just let them come out of the shower naturally. Most of these girls would be dogs. You would not want to have sex with them. You would not think they were even close to being attractive. Do you know how long these women sit in a chair before they get on television to have their makeup done? My common law for a short period of time did some fitness modeling. And, she has a very unique look and a very well-structured face, and she needs very little makeup for her to look like she's wearing makeup. She usually wears nothing on her skin. But when she did these photo shoots, they would really put a lot of makeup on, so, coloring looks different, whatever it is. Now, she's kind of a unique case, even though, she looked made up, her looks didn't change all that much, but it was still pretty significant. And she would tell me, they would sit her down for 30 minutes or whatever to do makeup. And while she felt it was unnecessary, camera people or, these people who are doing the photo shoots think it's something that every woman needs to do in order to kind of compete in that world. All right, I'm going to take this phone call. I hope they're actually staying on the line. And if they do, we'll continue the show. Let's see who this is. Hey, man, you're on.
Spencer?
Hey, you're on the air.
Spencer, hey, this is Brian.
Hey, Brian, what's happening, man?
Just watching your show here, and I wanted to 100% agree with you what you were saying about the woman and, the fact that they would not be caught, outside, not in the bathroom, but outside their house without, the full matching. Some women, matching everything. It's going to have to be, perfection, right?
It's ridiculous, actually.
And for them to criticize or even question why somebody would, do what you do basically if you end up, spray painting an area on your head. I mean, Well,
just to be clear, it's not actual spray paint. It's kind of like a makeup compact, something like they would use. And you take a little bit of this stuff and you put it into the part area or to thinning areas and you just comb your hair back and it all blends. That's it.
Right.
It literally takes a minute.
So it's not like that spray can thing I saw in the 1980s or 90s or whatever, that thing you did.
The only reason I don't do that is, because that stuff can work if you have enough hair. It makes a mess.
Right.
It makes a mess, and, it's like extra aerosol, and I don't want to breathe that stuff in.
I agree. That would be not a good idea.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say, that it's just, of course, hypocritical to say, hey, well, you can't put anything on, but we can just make everything look completely fake, and like you said,
Well, that's what's fascinating to me, and that's what it's so hard. There's such a double standard, and I feel like we've been judged for so long, and I have on a personal level for doing this show. This person again, and she was great at what she does, and the reason I'm complimenting her is because she was unique. She did ask a lot of the right questions, and she kind of seemed to kind of understand the process and why I do what I do. But in most cases, people are very critical, especially journalists. And I really have to kind of break them down to make them understand why this broadcast is so important to people, why I'm able to do it for so long. And when I talk about my concerns and my insecurities and why I got involved in this and, talk about painting my bald spot and why I do these things and kind of compare it like I did to this woman to women living their lives and walking around the world basically wearing a face full of makeup, then they kind of, they kind of understand it.
It's not just the makeup, like I said. You talk the eyelashes, the nails, even the shoes they wear. You talk about the fact that the way that the high heels affect their body's look, right?
Oh, absolutely. You take a woman out of her heels. First of all, vast majority of women don't have ultra-toned legs or ultra-thin legs. Mm-hmm. You take a lot of women, you put them in flats, all of a sudden they look like they have fat thighs and a big ass.
And the butts don't look the same exactly, 100%.
Everything, their entire structure their body structure is changed. So they're able to wear these things to enhance their appearance. We don't have that.
And even sometimes the clothes they wear, too. You can talk about, actually, fitting the right kind of fit of clothes to enhance the way your bodies look. There's all sorts of little subtle things they do,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We have a guy in chat room who asked me if I paint in the front at all. There are times I paint in the front. I didn't paint in the front today, but there are times that I do. I went a little bit into the mid-interior scalp, so when the light hits, it may look like there's a little paint in the front, but I didn't actually paint the hairline today. But there are times, if I'm, for whatever reason, if it's not a great hairline day, I might kind of go a little bit into that. But most cases, most of the time, I just paint the back. But yeah, Brian, you're absolutely right. Enough guys, people don't talk about this. And I am not misogynistic at all. I love women.
No.
In a way that is just, Probably I would say it's pretty healthy. But
Yeah,
this is reality. I know that the vast majority of women that I've known in my life, and I'm talking about girls who you would consider, most guys would consider 8s to 9s to 10s, 7s, just really, really hot chicks. They were very plain looking without their makeup. The woman that I'm with now basically looks the same. She wears nothing on her skin at all, which is, like she doesn't cover her skin with makeup, which is, it's actually, it's such a pleasure because most women, you're with them and you have makeup all over your shirt. It's ridiculous. And I also don't like lipstick, but a lot of women wear lipstick. Lipstick to me is a big turnoff.
No, that's the thing. Like I said, they're enhancing something there again to make it look like something else that isn't true. So.
Yeah, no, but it's not true. There are pictures online you can see what makeup does. And you go on Facebook, and I've seen these before, and it's like magic. These women are able to be transformed into completely different people. And I got to tell you, most of these chicks you see on television, holy shit! They do not look anything remotely like they look on TV.
How many times on TV you see these makeover shows where they go out and take somebody and they what not to wear or something like that, or these shows where they go and show the person who look kind of plain dumpy, what do you want to say anyways? Yeah. And then magically they're like a different person. You're like, what happened here? Well, what happened here is this is exactly what happens when you have professional people that know what they're doing, who can take somebody and give them a look and a style and everything else. And, and I can say,
that's exactly right.
It also feels like it's an arm. I'd say it also feels like almost like an arms race kind of thing. Because girls have done this stuff now. We kind of have to up our game potentially too.
But I feel, and you're right about that. But I feel there's a lot of stuff that's people are being misled on television. These plastic surgery shows, for instance. What really bothers me most about plastic surgery shows, and also a lot of before and afters that are being shown online by physicians who may be really good at what they do. You always have the girl, the before picture, they're wearing no makeup, it's bad lighting, whatever it is. The after picture, they're completely made up. Their hair is down. They may even be tanned. The lighting is different. It's a joke to me. To me, if you wanted to show realistic plastic surgery, there's no makeup at all.
That's right.
And you basically just show the difference, what was done. The shape of the face.
Right.
And you could show a before with makeup and a before, an after with makeup and a before without makeup and an after without makeup. And that would be reality. That's reality TV. What you see online right now, and you see these plastic surgery shows, well, I think it's obviously great for business and the business of plastic surgery. A lot of people are being misled, and they're frankly being led in a direction to have surgery based on unrealistic expectations.
100%.
Yeah.
When people go and they say, I want somebody's hairstyle, they want certain this or that, or plastic surgery, somebody's boobs or whatever. And it's like, well, no, you're not going to have that person's boobs. You're going to have your own boobs, but they're going to be, hopefully, get a reputable plastic surgery. I'm not aware of that industry to know if they have people that are organizations that do like the IHRA do, but I would hope they do. Because,
they really they don't. And the way, It's a very interesting industry. I could tell you this, and there's a lot more doctors who are doing mainstream cosmetic surgery than who are in hair. A lot of unhappy patients. But the one thing, to me, it's all about patient education. And when it comes to breast augmentation, which I find funny when people say, okay, my friend had a 300cc implant put in, and I think it's too small, whatever it is. I want this much. Everything is in direct relation to your anatomy. So if a woman doesn't have enough natural breast tissue, if she doesn't have the right shaped rib cage, if she doesn't have the correct measurements from the neck to the torso to the belly button, everything has to be taken into consideration before those implants and the type of implants are picked to put into the person's body. It's not a one size fits all procedure. And so people see stuff being done on television. Everyone wants to look like Pam Anderson, but genetically and anatomically, you may not be able to get breasts like Pam Anderson. And you have to be prepared for that. But a lot of doctors are like, well, you know what? This woman wants breasts like Pam Anderson, and I need to pay for my Mercedes payment this month and my kids' private school tuition. So I'm going to let her think she can have breasts like Pam Anderson and see what happens.
Right. And that's, like I said, why it's good that there is organizations like what you guys do there at IHRA, because, there needs to be a screening process. And to me, I think it's important also it's not a government thing. It's actually a private industry thing that watches over itself that way so it can kind of resolve things on its own versus having to go to legal court things or, having to basically have to bribe politicians and everything else,
Well, listen, once the government's involved, everything's all fucked up in my opinion. And frankly, things would get a hell of a lot worse.
Because then you actually have, try to have limits the number of doctors with, let's say, get degrees at certain schools to be able to gate limit so that doctors then get too much money from the standpoint of it's not supply and demand, right? You know what I mean, right?
Absolutely. I know what you mean. And also, but all the organizations that really exist in all fields of medicine are basically run by physicians themselves. So it is a lot of it's, kind of an honor system thing. It's an old boys network type of situation. Mm-hmm. It's very rare that a doctor is really, truly disciplined when, most doctors are very well protected. The internet has kind of leveled the playing field, but also it's kind of sent things, in my view, in the wrong direction because, the wife of a plastic surgeon or, the ex-wife of a plastic surgeon go online and completely destroy their reputation just because they're pissed that, that guy may have ended up with a younger chick. You know what I mean?
Oh man, Yelp and all that other stuff. It's like people got to understand that Yelp is not or things like that, let's just say, are not a substitute to other ways of reviewing, review boards and other things.
Look, if you are considering, where to get a good hamburger or, a Mexican food, whatever it is, then, or a car service, for instance, then, maybe you can go to Yelp, maybe you can go to one of these review sites, and maybe you can go to a message forum. But I got to tell you, if you are choosing, you're not going to choose your heart surgeon, in my view, based on a Yelp review. It's just not the way it is. So why choose your plastic surgeon or your hair transplant surgeon based on what some anonymous person writes on a message forum?
That's right, because that's really the biggest problem is if people forget that, we went from age of professional reviewers, right, to this amateur hour type stuff.
That's right.
And we got to swing the pendulum a little bit backwards and say, hold on. Either these sites are going to have to do a better job calling who's reviewing this stuff to say, no, this person's certified to be like an expert. We can have the other people in too, but we need to have some people that really know what really they're looking for, not just the person who comes by with a phone and decides I'm just going to write something up real quick when I'm down there at, whatever service I'm taking care of.
Well, what's interesting is I was looking up reviews for something specific I don't want to get into, and I noticed that it had 3 stars. Several reviews with 3 stars, and I'm reading the reviews, and all the 1-star reviews are basically based on bullshit. One was took too much time to answer the phone. This company. I mean, so they gave him a 1 star. Didn't even do business with the company. Just it took too much time to answer the phone, so they're willing to go online and destroy this company's reputation based on that alone. And this other review is ridiculous as well. But that's what happens, and people feel empowered that they can go on, and they can bitch, and they can complain, or if they just want to damage somebody's reputation, they can go online and do it. Now there is some there's something to be said about people being able to speak their mind online and to, if they're willing to give truly honest, and maybe helpful reviews, then that's great. But a lot of times it's just somebody who has a bee in their bonnet for some reason, and it could be like a personal vendetta. I know one guy, and this was a plastic surgeon, a not board certified, but a Beverly Hills cosmetic surgeon that was going online and trying to destroy the reputation of his colleagues, of his local colleagues, his competition. And he was caught. Oh. And he was also caught astroturfing. And this guy was so inexperienced using these message forums and, like Yelp and stuff, that he left his Facebook application open. And on certain things, basically his Facebook image would come up. And he was reviewing himself, saying, giving himself 5 stars. So this is what people have to realize that goes on out there, and I'm glad that you called to talk about this because it's vital. If you're considering any type of surgery, like I'm saying, if you had a deviated septum, or if you had some sort of you needed your spleen removed or whatever, you had some sort of problem, you're not going to go to Yelp to find your general surgeon,
right?
You're going to get a referral from a real hospital, from a real physician. And you know what, you still have to do your due diligence, but you could ask, can I speak to some patients who've had the procedure done? If it's not an emergency situation, can I speak to some patients? And, you can check the medical boards, and you can kind of do your due diligence to find out whether or not this guy is really qualified. Here, when it comes to cosmetic surgery, basically, whoever has the best web developer, the best SEO, or the best Yelp reviews, which there are services you can hire to write reviews for you.
Oh, I would be shocked if that was not the case. I mean, you could have people in India sitting there or wherever, just sitting there writing reviews, and that's exactly what happens to fake, on Facebook likes and everything. People sit there and just, like everything kind of thing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like,
look, you can buy Facebook likes, you can buy Twitter followers, you can buy, like, to me, look, I somehow I have like 1,200 followers who are willing to follow Spencer Kobren from the Bald Show. It's like they might as well be following the Small Penis Show, But if I had like 10,000 followers, I would know they were fake because no one wants to attach themselves to the bald guy. The friends like you and, whatever, that's fine. But I'm talking about like real listeners who are just, hypersensitive about their hair loss. A lot of these guys kind of want to separate themselves.
And I think I feel that's kind of sad because, like I say, you talk about on the other side with women basically about what they go through and everything else. With, for these guys, they shouldn't, people feel ashamed for all sorts of reasons, but to feel bad about that, to me, it's just.
Listen, dude, I know a guy who is probably one of the most highly functioning guys I've ever met, incredibly successful at what he does. He wears a hair system and looks great, by the way. He's a very handsome, together guy, married to like just a knockout, smart woman and beautiful woman. He's got everything on the ball. To this day, he won't talk to me about his hair. Now, and he's also like a very, internet savvy guy. So he knows who I am. He's been to my home. He has seen The Office. He has seen the books on the walls. And it's like the elephant in the room. For some reason, he cannot come to terms with it and talk to me about it. And I just leave it alone. I even talk about hair loss in front of him. I talk about the show. And he doesn't really almost feigns like he's not interested. Or he's interested, but he doesn't really want to talk about specifics. And this is a guy who, I'm telling you, man, first of all, you would never know. Secondly, the guy is a multimillionaire, self-made, incredibly, really cool guy. And this is what I do. And he can't open up to me. That's just the way that it is.
You're doing the right thing, honestly. At least leave the door open for him. It's important. And then, see how it goes. And, of course, if he decides he wants to walk through that door and, start the conversation, it's good. And, he knows that what you do, which is good. And hopefully he'll get to the point in his life where he can realize that, it's okay to talk about because either he's going to be close enough to, I don't know, not only retirement, but also like just the end of things that he just can say, look, I need to talk about this because I just need to discuss about this being something that has been bothering me for a long time.
The truth is, I know where he goes. I know who does his work. And I could help him out to the point where, listen, no one would know. You would not know as a layman, but I can help him out to the point where it would just be completely undetectable, and it would be a hell of a lot less expensive, and he'd learn how to maintain it himself and whatever it is, and I would point him in the right direction. But not that he needs to save the money because the guy's loaded. Right. But it's still, his whole experience could be a lot easier if he was willing to open up to me.
Remember, people that are loaded like that are also smart about money. Usually, they're not just throwing money away.
Well, and that's the thing.
Play on that side too,
Yeah, and that's the thing. And the guy's incredibly. You talk to this guy. This guy knows everything about everything. I just sit there listening to. I'm sit there getting drunk listening to this guy saying, "This is a smart motherfucker." Very impressive guy, and. Listen, it's not like I need to speak to him about his hair. He's got it under control, but I just find it interesting that he's our friend. And so I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that's why, I don't expect my listeners, and I know we have tens of thousands of listeners every week, sometimes we've gotten over 100,000 listeners. I don't expect these guys to like me on or to follow me on Twitter. I was in this guy's studio. I'm not going to mention any names this week, the guys that I was talking about, and they talk about, they promote the fact that they have 12,000 followers and this and that. And I'm just like, there's no way I'm ever going to get 12,000 followers. I don't need 12,000 followers. You know what I need? I just need people to anonymously go onto my message forum and anonymously listen to my show. That's
Right.
it. I don't need
And
to.
that's fine.
I don't need to brag about how many people are following me on Facebook and Twitter.
Right, because that's, in essence, like I say, it's going to be a problem because, like you say, people are going to have issues about it, and you could, help one at a time. You're not going to get the masses because they're just, like I say, not going to want to be open about it, which is understandable, like I say, so.
Yeah. Yeah, hold on. This guy says, yeah, Spencer, I have to be honest, I haven't followed you because I'm a closet sufferer. Don't want to raise any suspicion. And that, Mike, that's just the way that it is. There's so many closet sufferers out there. No, if someone is looking through your people you're following, they're like, wait a second, this guy does a hair loss show. Why the fuck is Mike following him? All of a sudden, they're going to be looking at Mike's hair, and he doesn't want that. I get it.
And this is exactly why we have laws like HIPAA in the books, because people don't want to be honest about what, not trying to be honest. I mean, they're concerned about, what's going on with them, and they aren't really, they don't want to make everything they do medically be publicly available, right?
That's true, yeah.
I get it, So, it's fine. And honestly, they still can search for you if they really want on Twitter without following this. And actually, there's on the client, you can tell it, okay, search for Spencer Kobren and just watch what you do and, at least be aware you're showing everything without even actually, following you, quote unquote.
Look, I get to enjoy the Twitter experience with you and Ron Knights. I'm fine with that.
Oh, yeah. Oh. That was fun the other day.
Yeah.
I hope he's listening.
He's probably is. And I wish he would call because he has a unique perspective. I mean, he gave himself a drunken haircut.
Yep.
On the air. He keeps bitching to me saying that, why don't I just shave my head? Why am I talking about hair loss? Ron, I just to be clear, this is what I do for a living.
Yeah.
I mean, that would ruin everything that I'm doing just for shaving my head and moving on. You got to understand that.
I just don't. No, I mean, Ron's a great guy and everything, I'm sure. But, I kind of met the guy, of course, person. But, it's like, hey, I think he does it more as a comedy kind of skit, kind of bit kind of thing than anything else and sort of an attention deal, Yeah. I think look, you know what? He has fun doing it. That's great. And
by the way, Rexy, I'm not ignoring you. I apologize for that. You didn't come to mind. Anyway, yeah. But you're right. I mean, the whole thing is just, I don't know.
Like I said, because I knew otherwise, if he really was like upset about it, there's no way he would be like doing the bits he's doing. To me, it seems like a comedy bit kind of thing more than anything else. The reason why he's doing it, No, I think
Ron is actually funny. He's a funny dude. I saw that one video when he was like showing us what he went to Costco and he had like, he bought like an 80-pack of like corn dogs and he was just, emptying his boxes. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, how does somebody eat all this stuff? Mini pizzas and...
That totally sounds like Ron Knights, I swear.
It was awesome.
Well, yeah, it's total. Look, he lives a bachelor lifestyle. It's fine. That's what he does, and I totally respect that because, it's just his thing, So.
But what does he do? I mean, I know that he's involved. He wants to be involved, or maybe he's involved in internet broadcasting. I don't know what capacity. I know he does YouTube videos.
Yeah. To my understanding, it's just the YouTube stuff. He seems like he goes on and puts them out every once in a while whenever he feels like, which is, fine.
Yeah.
And the people that follow his stuff, great. And, at least it gives them something to do and keeps them busy and entertained for the time he's around doing stuff.
I think he's a funny dude, man. I love the fact that he's kind of like a quasi fan, and he's more of a fan of the other shows of GFQ. But I love the fact that he even recognizes my existence, because he's a guy that, maybe I do affect him in some way. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's funny when he contacts me through Twitter. I'm just like, Jesus, this guy's he's really into it. He really wants me to shave my head.
Well, no, I think again, I think he's doing it more of again, like I said, I'm not him. I don't know him, but from that standpoint, if he's really joking or not. But I kind of get my take on it. He was joking on the conversation thread because he just kind of like I said, it's just something that he does. And it's fine. Look, and some people are going to be, you're going to have your Joe from Staten Island types that are, run around and who don't, who are dealing with this in a very kind of deeper level,
Absolutely.
And then other people they'd handle it differently. And,
well, then there's people like you. I met you. You're Norwood. You're a sufferer. You're not a sufferer because it doesn't bother you. But you're in Norwood, and you shave your head close, and you walk around, you look fine, and this is how you chose to live your life. And that's really the healthiest way to be.
Right. I mean, look, if I wanted to do something, there's no question that I know where to go. That's the reason why it's important.
That's right.
And at a certain point in my life, certain things get to a point where like it's an important thing to help advance certain things. Yeah, I mean, I'll look into stuff and we'll see exactly where things go. But right now, it's not. There's other things that are priorities for me, and so.
Well, I don't think you should ever do anything. I think at this stage, at your level of hair loss and the fact that you've lived with such short hair for such a long time. Mm-hmm. It would just be like, why? Why would you even do it? I mean, you can improve other things. You can maybe work out more, or you could, whatever,
Yeah, and that's exactly my point, is that's kind of what I'm saying when it comes down to these things, that people can decide about what they want to do. And as far as, moving on with things, exactly right. If you want to work out, great, go work out and get ripped and buff and, eat all the right good foods and everything, or, not so good food, let's say.
Right.
Anyways, personally, but, but it's all good. So,
it is.
So cool.
Well,
so,
listen, I appreciate the call, man. And it's, I would love you to call in more often because you kind of have a different perspective. You come from a very healthy perspective, of hair loss. You're not militant as far as being like, forget about your hair loss. You do, you do talk about the fact that you don't think hair loss should be an important issue in your life, and you've been able to deal with it. But you do it in a non-militant way. You know what I mean? You're very healthy about it.
I think it's my take on it is, look, for some people, I get it. For them, they feel that they're trying to get certain things out of life, and they're trying to get every advantage they need to have to be able to, like I said, the arms race. Like, you want to get the better-looking girls. Well, there's certain girls that I'm sure will not look at if you don't have a full head of hair. That's going to say, like a guapo or whatever. They're looking for a certain machismo kind of guy that has a full head of hair.
Right.
But fine. But if they're that shallow, they can't see beyond that, then maybe they aren't the kind of people that I want to associate with. You know what I mean? It's like, that's just the way I see it,
I get it. I mean, I like shallow people. So I'm just kidding.
I don't have a problem with some of that to a certain level, but I know. But you live around a bunch of people.
Yeah, no. But honestly, I prefer people who kind of get it. And again, being in the position that I'm in, I'm free to be open about my insecurities about it. I made that into a career. So when I talk about it, it's very cathartic, and it's not like it's not an odd thing. I'm very open about it, and listen, this is what I do, and then people just kind of forget that I, may have a half a can of hairspray on and some paint on the back of my head, and they kind of they deal with me like, there's no issue, and it's because I'm comfortable with that. It's the guys who are uncomfortable in their own skin. In whatever they choose to do, that's why their life is more difficult. If they choose to wear a hairpiece, wear a hairpiece, wear it proud, and move on with your life. And let the people who love you know about it. And there's a good chance your life is going to be better. If you decide to get a hair transplant, there are guys on the message forum who, they're posting about how to hide their hair transplant from their significant other. It's not even possible.
Oh my gosh! I can't see where someone's gonna run their hand through your hair or something like that. At some point, something's not gonna.
Well, with a hair transplant, you're not gonna feel a hair transplant. If it's a good transplant anyway, and there's no scar, the woman's not gonna feel it. If the guy wears a hairpiece, yes, she's gonna feel it for sure.
I was thinking more the post-operation scar type thing that might happen, or in worst case scenario, like we talked about earlier, about someone who doesn't do a good job,
right?
And it really is something that's noticeable, and you're trying to hide it, and it's like, well, the person's going to think something's wrong with you. Have a problem with your head. It's like they're going to go, do you need to see a doctor? Do you have do you get injured today or something like that? I mean, you thought you got to bump your head in an accident or something like that.
First of all, it's the stupidest thing I've ever read. And I read these things, and it's not an isolated incident. It's pretty common that guys want to figure out ways to kind of, can I go away for a couple of weeks and not let my girlfriend know? I mean, frankly, if your girlfriend doesn't want to be your girlfriend because you want to do something to improve your appearance, then it's time to move on. And believe me, if it's a good job, she's going to be very happy with it. She's not going to say, if your girlfriend wants to get a boob job, what are you going to say? She's not going to hide that fact. You're going to be like, yay, let's get it done. I'll go with you.
Right. I mean, I guess, and that's like I said, the way I'm saying that it's better, especially with something like that, you need to be open and honest with them. Otherwise, you're kind of hiding things from them that's like, well,
Dude, you have no idea how typical it is, especially with the younger guys. This is a whole thing, it makes, guys to think that people are going to think they're weak because they want to have cosmetic surgery or they're concerned about their hair. And that's because society has kind of made us feel that way. So that's why there's so many people who are screwed up because they're kind of, afraid to really do their research. They're not open about, what they're doing with their families. They try to do everything on the down low. So, they make mistakes. They try to cut corners. And also the guys that want to save money. This is not something that you want to do cheaply. You don't want to do a hair transplant on the cheap.
No. I think any kind of medicine type thing, you have to be careful about it. And even I know that there is advantages sometimes to doing medical tourism, right? You go out to other countries and you do different things.
Sure.
You have to be really aware that even if you do that, you really want to do your research anyways, no matter what you do, and make sure that you're going with somebody who really knows what's going on because it's too easy, especially in some other country. Jeez.
Look, I will tell you this, that I have had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clinics from Turkey apply to the organization. I've accepted 2. Okay. Now, 4 clinics willing to put down a significant amount of money a month just to be part of what we do, we've had to turn away. Clinics are popping up in Turkey like I've never seen anything like it. And they're actually able to offer relatively extremely inexpensive procedures. So where a procedure may cost $8 a graft here in the U.S. for an FUE, these guys are able to charge the equivalent of $2 or $3 a graft. Plus, they'll pay for travel, they'll pay for hotel, stuff like that.
Yep.
Sadly, there are clinics that, they're not great. So medical tourism is extremely dangerous. Guys who find the IHRS and find the show, they're lucky enough to really find the best. So if they are willing to travel because they want to save that money, there's a very good chance they're going to have a really great result. I think that's a good thing. I think it's fine to offer that option. On a personal note, I actually would prefer to be as close to home as possible when I have any type of surgical procedure. But that's just me. If you are willing to take the risk and to go to another country, you're going to be in good hands if you go to an IHRS member.
Right.
So that's
I'm glad to hear you're certifying some of these because, there need to be some range of products that's available on the price ranges because not everyone can afford to, spend maybe U.S. dollars to buy these things. But some people, still want to get it done with somebody that's good. But that doesn't necessarily always mean somebody's really bad because they're outside the United States. I mean, there's still some decent doctors out there. It's just, again, like you say, you're really going to have to be.
Well, we have 2 guys. We have 2 Indian doctors also, and they're popping up in India like it's nobody's business either. So it's
India. I would think so totally.
It's crazy what's happening, but I mean these guys are the best of the best. And this is one guy that I have, this guy Dr. Body, who does a lot of repair work from European doctors. So a lot of Europeans will fly down to see him after they've been botched, and they can't afford the repair in Europe. And they do their research, and they're like, okay, this guy's extremely reasonable. He's also, part of the IHRS. And they end up, getting an FUE, which is, I don't know if you know anything about surgery, but, it's a relatively non-invasive procedure. And they decided to go to India to have it done at a fraction of the price. And he's been helping a lot of people. So I like being able to offer those options. And then there's people out there that really need their hands held. So they want to be close to home. They want to have, they don't mind paying, top price because they have the money.
Right.
So it's really is just a matter of giving people the best options. And that's really what we try to do here. But I got to tell you, man, it's dangerous. It is so dangerous, dude. You're talking about cosmetic tourism. Oh, shit, you got to see some of the stuff that I see. In mainstream cosmetic surgery, it is so frightening, man. And it's so frightening.
Oh, yeah.
These guys, they operate like mills.
Oh, no, of course they do. I mean, that's and I get you, like I say, sure they have good websites that talk their services up and everything else, right? That make people go on, it looks great and everything else, and just get on an airplane, and then, like you say, they're in the middle of some situation where they're in a country they don't know. They don't speak the language maybe very well.
Oh, it's horrible.
Where the situation is. They don't know what the local laws are, if there are any, basically, that protect them, right?
Right.
What happens. And then, like I said, if something goes bad, where is the local real hospital that can actually help them out to solve a problem?
And that's true. And it's going to be difficult to really have any real recourse when you're doing that. And there's a guy in the chat room asking about Dr. Arvid. Dr. A is a great doctor. I got to tell you, he does incredible work. And he does, most of his work is still strip, and he does FUE as well. But you're right, he is absolutely one of the best guys in India, and he's accepted into the organization. And this is a guy who was really persistent, by the way. You know, he initially applied to the organization years ago, and it wasn't that he wasn't great. It was just at the time he was relatively new to the field.
Right.
And I wanted to give him some time, you know, some more experience. And as I saw his work come out, it was just like, Jesus, this guy is top notch. So you're right. I can't see this guy. It's Dr. Kramadov in the chat room. You're absolutely right. Dr. A is top notch. But listen, guys, I'm going to close up shop. Brian Monroe, thank you so much for calling. I'm glad you're watching the show, by the way.
Well, it's a fun thing, like I said, to see, you know, what you do and to be a part of it. Again, I like GFQ, what's going on there, and I really appreciate, you know, what's going on with GFQ and this show and the other shows that are on the network, because, you know, it's something where you guys are.
How do you feel about Lunatic Radio going off the air?
Actually, yeah, we can talk about that. I'm actually, I hate to say it, but I'm actually kind of glad they're going off the air, because I think that they've had a good run.
Yeah.
No, but for this reason, okay, I feel like, and I've been watching the show recently, you know, last year or so, basically, and I've noticed that it's not going to say the quality of the show. Well, yeah, quality of the show has kind of dropped some. It seems like they kind of just sort of phone it in sometimes.
Yeah.
And if your heart's not really fully in it, it's better to, like, you know, just cut it and move on, instead of just, you know, beating a dead horse. I hate to use that terminology, but, you know, instead of just keeping doing something you don't really enjoy doing just because you feel like you have an obligation to do it. They don't really have sponsorships at all, so it's not like they're sitting there going, well, they have to do this because they got to get some, you know, XYZ brand, you know, take care of, right?
Yeah. So
that's why I'm glad. And not that I want them to somebody go away from the standpoint of doing something they like doing, but if it's something they enjoy doing, you know, if it's something they're kind of done when the materials are done, they aren't looking to put new bits in, and it's sort of like the same old, it's like, and the audience isn't really as much there on the live side as much as it used to be with the stick cam stuff and some other things. You know, it's changed.
No, absolutely, it's changed. But you know, listen, I remember back in the day, I was doing radio, and I just remember they were the first program that I ever saw, like that seemed like a real radio show. Mm-hmm. On video, on the air, you know, on the internet. And it was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing to watch. And I actually thought that they were going to, you know, get to a place where I guess they just never got. But it's not easy. It's not easy to do. But they definitely built up a following. And yeah, I mean, maybe they are calling it in. I don't really, I haven't, to be fair, I haven't watched the show in a long time.
Right. All I'm just saying ultimately comes down to a question of if the way things were working with Stickcam and the different audiences they've had before in the past, and they weren't able to really fully make a transition with the GFQ network. And then after that, it really, you know, it seems like it just, once they got off the GFQ network, it just like, okay, again, like I said with the live show, I'm not aware of their download numbers or anything else as far as that's concerned. That's their information. But if it's something that's not really happening, especially if they're really not into the show as much as they used to be, that's what I'm kind of getting, basically, I'm saying anyways. Right. That's why I'm saying it's better to do it. I mean, because I want any internet broadcast. If you want to go out there and you want to do shows, great, do shows. Put up videos on YouTube, do whatever. But don't do it just because you feel like you have obligation to do it for your audience, and if you're not really into it. You know, take some time off. Even if you got to take some time off and just come back into it, you know. No, sometimes that's good too.
I agree. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy. Like this week, listen, my dog died. I came on.
I know. Sorry.
Well, thanks. But before the broadcast, I had a total debacle with my system here. I actually downloaded a possible malware. It was a whole thing trying to get the thing off, and I had to have Andrew, go into my computer and all this shit. And then, so I was like 5 minutes late to start the show, and I'm kind of frazzled. And I'm thinking, you know what? Do I really want to do this show tonight? But once I start, I'm having fun. You know, and even though I'm bitching, if I'm not getting enough calls, I'm going to go off the air. You know, if I think of something that's interesting that I want to kind of convey to my audience, I just kind of go at it, and that prompted your call.
Right. I mean, honestly, you stuck with it, and then, like I said, I was also concerned about the phone lines that actually was having a problem with your phone lines. Honestly, part of the reason why I called in, because
I appreciate
dumped
that.
Out, then people are, and I just want to make sure that the technology was working, because I know how much that can be frustrating when people try to call into a show and then they get dumped out. Then you expect it to be on hold, and then maybe you don't call back because you lost the number or something, or who knows.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you calling in because it was fun. And you saved the last 20 minutes. So
awesome.
Thanks, man. All right, guy, I'm going to go. I'll talk to you later. Take care.
Bye.
All right, guys, listen, we're going to close up shop. I'm glad Brian Monroe called in because it's always fun to talk to him and to, he has a lot of interesting insight. And for the guy who is allowing his grandmother to, basically mouth his testicles, good for you. I hope you enjoy that. I mean, that's the thing about these chat rooms, man. And if they're not manned, I don't know where Suncast is. This is what happens. Anyway, we're gonna call it a night, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. There's a good chance I'll be live next week. I will announce the show sooner, and hopefully you guys will call in with your questions and concerns about hair loss. We're gonna have a lot of special things happening, like I said, starting in November, which I think you guys are going to enjoy. And I'm going to be doing a lot more taped segments, which will be put up on the Bald Truth website and also on GFQ and wherever else GFQ puts the archive shows. So you can check those out. The websites for the message forum, of course, you can go to baldtruthtalk.com. Just please remember to, take whatever you read on any message forum, even the Bald Truth's message forum, with a grain of salt. Realize that, the people who are posting are anonymous. That's just the way that it is. So you need to do your own due diligence outside of the world of the internet. That's very important, especially if you're considering using any type of a product and especially if you're just considering having surgery. If you are considering having surgery, you could check out IAHRS.org. That's the website for the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. Also check out the American Hair Loss Association website if you're interested in getting some basic information about hair loss. There's going to be some major updates on the American Hair Loss Association website coming soon. It is way overdue, and there's some, going to be some content changes about, some technology and, a lot of interesting things. So if you haven't been on the American Hair Loss Association website for a while, check back in a couple of weeks and you'll see some interesting changes. So until next week, I want all of you guys to be strong. God bless, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.